The station was alive with sound, a place where voices from 100 different worlds mixed together. Traders shouted prices, travelers argued over tickets, and the hum of ships docking shook the glass walls. Among all this noise, one human walked quietly, his bag on his shoulder, his eyes tired but curious. He was just another traveler, or so it seemed. His name was Daniel, a simple man who had come here looking for work. He had no great plans, no hidden power. He only wanted to move from one colony to the next, searching for a place to begin again. As Daniel stood in line for his own ticket, he noticed movement a few steps ahead. An old alien, thin and bent, struggled to keep his balance. His skin was pale blue, marked with deep wrinkles like rivers across a desert. His hands shook as he counted his coins, sliding them across the counter. The clerk, a bored-looking creature with sharp eyes, gave a cruel laugh. "Not enough, old one," he sneered. "You cannot travel without full payment." The old alien lowered his head, embarrassed. Around him, others waiting in line began to chuckle. Some whispered to each other, "Why is he even here? He should have stayed in his sector." Daniel watched in silence for a moment. He saw how the alien's hands trembled as he tried to explain. His voice was weak, his words almost lost in the noise of the station. The clerk waved him away with, "No mercy. Step aside. You are wasting everyone's time." The old alien stepped back, his eyes full of shame. He clutched his small bag, as if it was all he owned. No one moved to help him. In fact, the people nearby looked relieved. They wanted the line to move faster. They wanted the problem to disappear, but Daniel could not look away. Something inside him refused to accept the scene. Without thinking too much, he stepped forward. He took out his card and placed it on the counter. "I will cover his ticket," he said simply. His voice was steady, not loud, but strong enough to silence the laughter around him. The clerk frowned. "Why would you waste credits on him?" he asked. Daniel only replied, "Because no one else will." There was no argument in his tone, no need for more words. The clerk muttered but accepted the payment. The machine beeped and a ticket slid out. Daniel took it and turned to the keel. "Old alien," he placed it gently in his hand. "Here, now you can travel." For a moment, the alien just stared at him. His eyes were different from any Daniel had seen before, deep and glowing faintly like distant stars. The old alien's lips trembled, not from weakness now, but from something like awe. He whispered, "You do not understand what you have done." Daniel gave a small smile. "It is only a ticket," he said. But the alien shook his head slowly, his gaze piercing as if he saw through Daniel's very soul. "No," he whispered again. "It is far more." Before Daniel could ask what he meant, the old alien pressed something into his palm. It was a small piece of metal, shaped like a coin but etched with strange glowing symbols. The edges were warm to the touch. Daniel tried to return it, but the alien closed his hand around it firmly. "Keep it," the alien said. "It belongs to you now." Then with surprising speed for someone his age, the alien melted into the crowd. Within seconds he was gone, leaving Daniel standing alone with the token in his hand. Whispers began to rise around him. People were staring now, not at the old alien but at Daniel. Some shook their heads, some looked afraid. A man nearby muttered, "Does he even know who that was?" Another hissed, "He will regret this." Daniel felt a shiver crawl up his spine. He looked down at the glowing token. The symbols pulsed like a heartbeat, as if alive. The noise of the station seemed to fade, leaving only the weight of the object in his hand. He tucked it quickly into his pocket and tried to move on. But the eyes of the crowd followed him. There was tension in the air now, as if everyone was waiting for something to happen. He told himself it was nothing, just a kind act for someone in need, yet deep inside, he felt it. The station had grown colder, quieter. Shadows seemed to stretch longer across the floor. The whisper of the alien's words echoed in his mind. "You do not understand what you have done." And then, just as Daniel reached the gates to board his own ship, the alarm rang. A deep, metallic sound shook the walls. Red lights flashed across the station. Voices cried out in fear. Ships outside were scattering, docking clamps breaking. Daniel turned back toward the glass wall. His heart skipped a beat. Through the clouds above the station, shadows were moving, 3 massive shapes descending slowly. The crowd gasped as the first ship pierced the sky, glowing with strange power. Daniel's hand went to his pocket. The token inside was burning hot now, pulsing like it was alive. He whispered to himself, "What is happening?" As the 3 elite warships landed in front of the station, the ground shook and the crowd froze in terror. Daniel's act of kindness had just opened a door he could not close. The alarm still echoed through the station, a deep metallic cry that shook the walls. Red lights flashed across every corridor, casting long shadows that moved like restless ghosts. People pushed and ran in panic, each voice louder than the last. Daniel stood frozen, his hand gripping the glowing token in his pocket. He tried to steady his breath, telling himself it was only a drill, only a false alarm. But when he turned toward the glass wall again, he saw the truth. The 3 warships had landed in formation, their armor gleaming like black steel wrapped in fire. Each one bore the same strange symbol carved into the token he carried. The crowd gasped again, and whispers spread like wildfire. "Those are not normal ships," someone muttered. "Elite crafts," another hissed. "They belong to the Forgotten Empire." Others shook their heads, disbelief painted on their faces. A man in a heavy coat whispered harshly, "No one has seen them in centuries. Why now? Why here?" Daniel kept silent, his heart pounded, but he tried to move toward the boarding gates. He wanted to disappear into the wave of travelers, to be no one again, but he could feel eyes on him, too many eyes. The whispers were no longer about the ships, they were about him. "That's the one," someone said behind him. Daniel turned quickly, but the face disappeared into the crowd. He stepped faster, but the voices followed. Why did he help the elder? Does he even know what he has done? He carries the mark now. The words cut into him like blades. He wanted to ask what they meant, but fear closed his throat. His fingers brushed the token again, feeling its strange heat. It was as if the object was alive, pulsing to the rhythm of his racing heart. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his arm. Daniel spun around. An alien merchant with pale eyes leaned close, his breath sharp with fear. "Listen, human," the merchant whispered. "Throw it away. Whatever he gave you, burn it, bury it. Do not keep it." Daniel's lips parted. "Why?" he asked quietly. The merchant's eyes darted around, his voice trembling. "Because if they see it, if they know you have it, you will not walk away alive." With that, the alien pushed him back and vanished into the chaos, leaving Daniel shaken and confused. He took a step forward, but then a new sound rolled across the station, the hiss of engines powering down. The doors of the first warship began to open, metal scraped against metal, and a ramp extended to the ground. The crowd fell into a stunned silence. Figures stepped out, tall and armored in black plates that gleamed under the red light. Their helmets covered their faces, their movements sharp and disciplined. Each carried a weapon unlike any Daniel had seen. The crowd instinctively pulled back, pressing against the walls. Daniel tried to do the same, hoping to vanish among them, but fate had other plans. The token in his pocket began to glow brighter. He could feel the heat spreading through his body. His palm burned as if fire pressed against his skin. Daniel cursed under his breath, trying to hide the light, but a faint glow seeped through the fabric of his jacket. The nearest soldier turned his head. The armored figure raised a hand, signaling the others. In seconds, the soldiers moved, spreading out with perfect precision. They scanned the crowd, searching. Daniel's chest tightened, sweat rolled down his neck. Every step he took felt heavier than the last. The whispers grew louder now. "They are looking for him. They will find him. He cannot hide." Daniel pushed through the people, trying to slip away, but the crowd parted suddenly as if guided by unseen fear. And then he felt it, the gaze of the soldiers locking on him. The glow of the token betrayed him. "Stop," one of them commanded. His voice cold and mechanical through the helmet. The crowd froze, eyes wide. Some stepped back even farther, eager to put distance between themselves and Daniel. He tried to run, but the token burned hotter, forcing him to stumble. His legs felt heavy, his lungs tight. He reached for the pocket, wanting to throw it away. But the moment his fingers touched the object, the symbols lit up in full, blindingly bright. The soldiers halted, their weapons lowered at once. Silence rippled through the station. Daniel looked up in confusion, expecting death. Instead, he saw something stranger. The soldiers knelt all at once, their helmets bowed, their weapons laid on the ground. The crowd gasped in disbelief, whispers turned to cries. "He holds the Elder's seal." The fleet bows to him. "It cannot be true." Daniel's mouth went dry. He did not understand. He only stood there, shaking, the token glowing in his hand. The lead soldier rose slowly, his voice firm. "You are the one who aided the Elder," he declared. "By the ancient oath, we serve you now." The crowd erupted. Some screamed, some fled. Others fell to their knees in shock. Daniel could barely breathe. His kindness, a simple act of buying a ticket, had turned into something unimaginable. He whispered to himself, "This cannot be real." But the weight of the moment crushed him, and then, through the noise, he felt a new presence. His head turned, and there, at the edge of the landing platform, stood the old alien, watching him. With calm, glowing eyes, his voice reached Daniel's ears even through the chaos. Soft but unshakable. "I told you, human, you do not understand what you have done." Daniel's heart thundered. The crowd trembled. The soldiers waited for his command. And above, the 3 warships loomed like giants ready for war. The whispers in the crowd had turned into a storm, and Daniel was now at the center of it. The soldiers knelt before Daniel, their black armor shining under the crimson warning lights. The whole station had gone quiet, as if the air itself was holding its breath. No one dared to move, no one dared to speak. The impossible was happening. Before their eyes, Daniel's hands shook, the glowing token still burning in his palm. He wanted to throw it away, to run, to vanish into the shadows. But the soldiers stayed where they were, heads bowed, waiting. The old alien who had disappeared earlier now stood calmly near the edge of the platform, his glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. The crowd murmured in disbelief. "The fleet bows," someone whispered. "He carries the seal," said another. Others simply stared, too shocked to form words. The tension was so heavy it pressed against every chest. Daniel's voice finally broke through the silence, uncertain and trembling. I don't understand," he said. His words were soft, but the soldiers reacted as if he had commanded them. The lead warrior lifted his head and stepped forward. His armor was darker than the others, etched with silver lines that pulsed faintly. "You are the one who aided the Elder," the soldier declared. His voice was deep, echoing through his helmet. "By the oath of the Forgotten Empire, we are bound to serve you." Daniel shook his head. "I don't want this. I didn't ask for this." His words trembled with desperation. But the old alien finally stepped closer, his frail body moving with surprising steadiness. The crowd parted for him in silence, some even bowing their heads. The Elder stopped a few feet away from Daniel. His glowing eyes softened. "It was never about what you wanted, human," he said. His voice was calm, yet it carried power. "It was about who you are, and what you chose when no one else would." Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry. "I only bought you a ticket," he muttered. The Elder's lips curled into the smallest of smiles. "Yes, and in that single act, you proved more than armies and kings." Before Daniel could answer, the ground trembled again. The second warship opened its massive doors. The ramp unfolded with a hiss of steam. This time, not soldiers but towering figures emerged. Their armor was brighter, marked with golden crests. Their presence was overwhelming. The crowd gasped. "Commanders," someone whispered. "Elite Guard," another added. Their voices shook with awe and fear. Daniel's chest tightened as the commanders marched forward. They moved with perfect discipline, each step echoing through the station floor. One of them removed his helmet, revealing pale silver skin and sharp eyes that glowed faintly. His expression was unreadable. He studied Daniel for a long moment before speaking. "So the Elder has chosen." His voice carried authority, and the other soldiers bowed even lower. Daniel wanted to protest again, to say this was a mistake. But before he could, the commander's gaze shifted to the token in his hand. His eyes widened slightly, and he lowered his head in respect. "The seal has awakened," he said solemnly. "It recognizes him." The Elder stepped closer, his frail hand reaching toward Daniel. He touched the token lightly, and at once the glowing symbols flared brighter. The entire station was filled with blinding light. People shielded their eyes, gasping in fear when the light faded. The token had changed. It was no longer just a coin-like object. It had expanded into a small device, floating just above Daniel's palm. The glowing symbols rearranged themselves, forming patterns no human could understand. The Elder's voice echoed softly. "This is the mark of the chosen. It cannot be faked. It cannot be stolen. It appears only to the one who proves worthy." Daniel stared at it in disbelief. His heart raced faster with every word. "I am not chosen," he whispered. "I am just a man. I don't even belong here." The Elder's gaze was steady. "That is exactly why you were chosen." The commanders turned toward the Elder, one of them bowing deeply. "What are your orders?" he asked. The Elder looked back at Daniel, his expression unreadable. "The orders are not mine to give," he said. "They belong to him now." The crowd erupted in gasps and cries. Daniel stumbled back, his legs weak. "Me?" he said, his voice breaking. "I cannot order soldiers. I cannot command ships." But the token floated higher, pulsing with light. The soldiers and commanders alike remained bowed, waiting for his word. The silence stretched painfully long. Then a shout broke through the crowd. "This is madness," a tall alien cried. His eyes were wide with fury. "No human can hold the seal. It is a trick." His voice was loud, but it trembled with fear. He stepped forward, pointing at Daniel. "He will bring war upon us." More voices joined in, fear twisting into anger. "Take it from him," some shouted. "Destroy it before it's too late." The crowd was shifting now, no longer frozen but restless. Dangerous. Daniel's chest heaved. His mind spun with panic. He didn't know what to say, what to do. His every breath felt heavy. Then the Elder raised his hand, and the chaos silenced again. His glowing eyes swept over the crowd. "Silence," he commanded. And even the loudest voices fell quiet. The Elder's words rolled like thunder. "This human showed mercy when none of you would. He gave without asking. He chose kindness in a galaxy where kindness is rare. That is why the seal chose him. And you will all remember this day." The crowd trembled under his voice. Some lowered their heads, ashamed. Others turned away in silence. Daniel, however, stood frozen, still, staring at the glowing device floating above his palm. He whispered under his breath, "Why me?" But no answer came. Only the heavy weight of destiny pressed harder against his shoulders. And above, the third warship remained sealed, its massive doors still closed. The air grew colder, darker, as if it held a secret yet to be revealed. Daniel knew, deep in his heart, that the true arrival of the elite was not over yet. It had only begun. The station shook as the sound of distant engines thundered across the skies. Soldiers raised their weapons, commanders shouted orders, and the crowd pressed back in terror. But the Elder lifted his hand, calm and steady, and the chaos slowed. His glowing eyes locked on Daniel. "It is time you understood," he said. Daniel's chest was heavy, his breath uneven. "Understood what?" he asked, his voice cracked with fear and confusion. The Elder turned and gestured toward the waiting warship. "Come," he said. "The answers are not for the ears of the crowd." The soldiers surrounded Daniel protectively, guiding him up the ramp. The murmurs of the station followed him. Whispers of disbelief, envy, and fear. The keepers bowed their heads as he passed, their glowing eyes unreadable. The elder walked at his side, his frail body moving with surprising strength. Inside the ship, the air was cold and sharp. The walls gleamed with black metal carved with ancient patterns. Strange lights pulsed like veins running through the vessel. Daniel felt small within it, as though he had stepped into the heart of a creature far older than himself. They entered a chamber where the ceiling rose high, and the walls curved like a dome. In the center stood a platform, upon which a great sphere floated, glowing with shifting symbols. Daniel stared at it, his breath caught in his throat. "What is this?" he whispered. The elder's voice was soft but carried weight. "This is the core of memory. It holds the history of the forgotten empire, and the truth of what you now carry." He lifted his hand, and the symbols on the sphere shifted. Images bloomed across the walls. Daniel saw worlds burning, fleets clashing in the dark void of space. Armies marched, empires rose and fell. He saw the same glowing seal he now held, passed from one ruler to another, each bearer crowned as leader not by blood, but by worth. The elder's voice continued. "Long ago, the empire ruled countless systems, but power corrupted it. Leaders lost sight of compassion. The seal was forgotten, buried, until the empire collapsed under its own greed. The fleets scattered, the keepers vanished, and I was left wandering, waiting for a sign." Daniel turned, his eyes wide. "And you think I am that sign?" The elder met his gaze. "Not I, but the seal itself. It awakened because of you." Daniel shook his head. "I don't deserve this. I'm no king, no leader. I just wanted to help." His voice was thick, almost pleading. But the elder stepped closer, his glowing eyes piercing. "That is exactly why you are chosen. You did not seek power. You acted with kindness when all others turned away. That is what the seal recognizes. That is what the empire must rise upon again." Daniel's knees felt weak. He lowered his head, his hands trembling. "But I don't know how to lead anyone. I don't know how to fight a war." The elder placed a frail but steady hand on his shoulder. "You will learn, and you will not be alone." The chamber dimmed, and the sphere shifted again. New images filled the walls. Alien faces appeared, unfamiliar yet regal. "These were the chosen before you," the elder explained. "Each different, each unready, yet each grew into the role because the galaxy gave them no choice." Daniel's voice was quiet. "And what happened to them?" The elder's eyes darkened. "Some succeeded, some failed, all were tested. The seal does not promise victory, it only promises the chance." The words sank into Daniel like stones in water. His chest grew heavier, his mind filled with doubt. Yet as he stared at the glowing seal floating near his palm, he felt its warmth, as if it was alive, urging him not to turn away. Suddenly, the chamber shook violently. The walls trembled, alarms blared. A voice rang through the ship, sharp and urgent. "Enemy fleet incoming. They are preparing to engage." Daniel's heart skipped. He turned to the elder, panic flashing in his eyes. "They're coming for me." The elder nodded. "Calm even in the storm. Yes, word of the seal travels fast. They will want to claim it, or destroy it, and they will stop at nothing." The doors opened, commanders rushing in, their voices strong but tense. "The rival fleet is armed. They demand we surrender the human. What are your orders, chosen?" Daniel froze, the weight of their eyes pressed against him. His lips parted, but no words came. He was not ready. He was not strong. But the elder spoke softly. "Do not give them what they demand. Your voice carries power now. Speak, and they will follow." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to run. But the memory of the old alien's trembling hands returned to him. He remembered why he had acted, not for glory, not for destiny, but for kindness. He clenched his fists and forced the words out. "We do not surrender." His voice shook. But it was clear. The commanders straightened at once. Their eyes burned with renewed fire. "As you command," they said. The elder smiled faintly. "You see, even in doubt, your heart chooses what is right." The alarms blared louder, the ship rumbled. Outside, the enemy fleet drew closer. Ready for battle, Daniel stood at the center of it all, the seal glowing in his hand. The elder's final words echoed in his ears. Secrets can be heavy, but truth is heavier still. Now you know who you are, and now the galaxy will know as well. The warship trembled as alarms screamed through its corridors. Outside the station, the black void of space was no longer silent. Enemy ships moved into position, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Daniel stood at the center of the command chamber, the seal pulsing in his hand like a living heart. Commanders stood ready, their voices sharp as they reported. 30 vessels closing fast, one said. Shields raised, weapons locked. Another confirmed. The soldiers' discipline was absolute. Yet their eyes flickered with unease, for though they had seen countless battles, never before had their fate rested in the hands of a human. Daniel's chest rose and fell heavily. His throat was dry. His mind screamed at him to run, to deny all of this. But the elder's calm presence beside him anchored his shaking spirit. Do not fear the storm, the elder said softly. You cannot stop it, but you can choose how to face it. The seal in Daniel's palm grew hotter, its light spread, glowing across his fingers. He felt a strange energy rushing into him, filling him, pulling his thoughts toward the battlefield beyond. He could almost see the enemy fleet as if through new eyes. He whispered, "They're waiting for me." The elder nodded. Yes, word of the seal has already traveled. They fear what it means. They fear what you could become. That is why they come with fire. The enemy fleet lit the void with their weapons. A warning shot blazing past the station, shaking its glass walls. Civilians screamed, rushing for shelter. Some cried out Daniel's name in fear, others cursed it, blaming him for drawing danger to them. Daniel's heart twisted. "They'll kill everyone just to get me," he said. His voice cracked. The elder's gaze was firm. "And that is why you cannot surrender. If you give them the seal, the galaxy will return to chains. But if you stand, you give it hope." The commanders turned to him again. "Your orders, chosen," they said. Their voices were steady, but their eyes searched his face. Waiting for direction, Daniel's body trembled. He was no soldier, no leader, only a man who once bought a ticket for a stranger. Yet here, in this moment, every life on the station hung on his words. He closed his eyes, breathing hard. The memory of the old alien at the counter burned in his mind. The weakness in his hands, the shame in his eyes. No one else had cared. No one else had stepped forward. Daniel had acted because he could not bear to look away. Could he look away now, when the whole galaxy watched? He lifted his head. His voice still shook, but it carried weight. "Raise the shields. Protect the station. Do not fire unless they strike first." The commanders bowed. "As you command," they replied. The soldiers moved swiftly, the warship humming as shields shimmered into place. The enemy vessels circled like predators, their glowing weapons hungry for blood. Minutes stretched like hours. Silence pressed down on the chamber. Daniel's hands sweated against the burning seal. Every second felt like the edge of a knife. Then, without warning, the first enemy shot struck the shield. The ship groaned. The lights flickered. The battle had begun. Daniel stumbled as the floor shook. Soldiers shouted updates. Shields at 90%. Weapons charging. The elder turned to him. "Do not let fear guide you. Let your heart speak." Another strike shook the warship. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The commanders looked to Daniel again. "Permission to return fire?" One asked. Daniel's breath caught. His mind screamed yes, but his heart hesitated. He looked at the glowing seal, its light steady, warm, alive. "No," he said, surprising even himself. "Not yet. We protect. We do not destroy." The commanders hesitated, but the elder nodded. "A wise choice," he whispered. "Mercy is harder than war, but it shines brighter." The enemy ships unleashed another volley, the shields crackling under the force. Daniel clenched his fists, his heart aching. "They'll kill us," he said. The elder placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not if you believe. The seal does not only bind ships, It binds loyalty, it binds destiny. Reach into it, Daniel. Call. What is yours? Daniel stared at the glowing seal. His mind spun. He felt the hum of the warship, the breath of every soldier, the silent strength of the keepers. He felt the weight of the station, the cries of the people. He lifted the seal. High, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. A blinding pulse erupted from the seal, surging through the ship, through the fleet, through the station itself. The shields flared brighter, absorbing the next enemy volley with ease. The soldiers gasped, their eyes wide. The commanders dropped to one knee. The seal protects us, one whispered. The enemy ships hesitated, their captains startled. The sudden shift in power sent waves of fear rippling through their ranks. Some began to pull back, others pressed forward, desperate to break the defense. Daniel's voice rose, louder than before. Hold the line. Do not strike unless they force us. Protect the innocent. The soldiers cheered, their discipline hardening. The commander shouted orders with renewed strength. The elder smiled faintly, pride glinting in his ancient eyes. Outside, the storm of fire raged, but the warship and its fleet stood firm. Shields blazed like suns, unbroken. The enemy could not understand. They had expected fear, surrender, weakness, but what they found was resolve. Inside, Daniel trembled. Still uncertain, still afraid, but the seal's warmth reminded him of why he stood. Not for power, not for glory, but because kindness had brought him here, and kindness must guide him still. The elder leaned close, his voice low. This is only the first test, human. The storm has begun, and greater ones will follow. But remember this, strength without mercy is only tyranny, and mercy without strength is only defeat. Balance them, and you will become what the galaxy needs. Daniel's eyes fixed on the void outside. The storm was not over. The enemy was not yet beaten. But for the first time, he did not feel completely powerless. The seal pulsed with life in his hand, and around him stood fleets and warriors ready to follow. The coming storm had arrived, and Daniel was no longer just a man in the crowd. He was the bearer of destiny, and the galaxy was watching. The battlefield outside the station burned with flashes of light. Enemy ships swarmed like shadows, their weapons cutting across the void. The elder's fleet held firm, shields blazing with unnatural strength, and yet the tension grew heavier. With each passing moment, Daniel stood at the center of the command chamber, the seal glowing fiercely in his hand. The commanders turned toward him, their voices sharp but steady. Shields at 70%. One reported, enemy formation closing. Another warned. The soldiers waited for his word. The keepers stood silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him, and the elder, calm as ever, watched with quiet intensity. Daniel's breath shook. He could feel every eye upon him. The seal pulsed like a heartbeat, its warmth running through his veins. He whispered, I'm not a warrior. I don't know how to fight them. The elder's voice was low but powerful. A leader is not measured by how many he destroys, but by what he protects. Speak, Daniel. The galaxy is listening. The enemy fleet surged forward, their weapons ready. The station trembled. Alarms screamed. People in the lower decks cried out in terror. Daniel clenched his fist around the seal. His voice rose, breaking through the storm. Hold the line. Protect the civilians. Do not waste lives for pride. The commanders saluted, their movements sharp. Orders spread across the fleet. Warships shifted, positioning themselves as shields around the station. The enemy opened fire, beams of light cutting through the dark. The shields flared, sparks rained inside the ship. The walls shook, but the line held. The elder leaned closer, whispering words meant only for Daniel. Mercy has power, but mercy alone cannot win. Now the galaxy must see what kind of human you are. Will you strike back? Or will you remain silent until you fall? Daniel's chest tightened. He stared at the glowing fleets outside, the endless storm of fire. His heart raced. If I fight, people will die. If I do nothing, More people will die. His voice cracked with the weight of the choice. The seal glowed brighter, its symbols spinning like stars. Suddenly, the voice of the enemy commander thundered through the comms. Harsh and cruel. Human, surrender the seal and your lives may be spared. Resist, and we will turn this station to ashes. His words cut through the chamber, filling the silence with venom. Daniel's hands trembled. He wanted to say yes, to give it up, to save the lives at risk. But then he remembered the elder's words, remembered the kindness that had started it all, remembered the faces of the people who looked to him now. He raised the seal high, and his voice rang across the fleet. We will not surrender, we will not bow to tyranny. We stand, we protect, and we endure. A cheer erupted from the soldiers. Their fear melted into fire. The commanders straightened, their voices thunderous. As you command. The elder's faint smile returned. His glowing eyes filled with pride. The seal pulsed again, but this time its light spread outward. Arcs of energy leapt across the fleet. The warships glowed brighter, their shields stronger. Their weapons hummed with power. Daniel gasped as visions filled his mind. He could see the battlefield not with his eyes, but through the seal, as if he was part of every ship, every soldier, every soul. He whispered, I can feel them, I can guide them. The elder nodded. That is the gift of the seal. It binds. It unites. It makes many into one. Use it, Daniel, not to conquer, but to protect. Daniel raised his hand. The fleets moved as one. Their formation shifted. Their shields overlapped. Enemy fire scattered harmlessly. The commanders looked in. Ah, he is guiding us, one whispered. The soldiers fought harder, their faith renewed. The enemy fleet pressed closer, but their shots no longer broke through. Daniel's voice rang again. Push them back, but do not destroy those who retreat. Let them live. Let them see who we are. The fleet surged, the elders' warships advanced with blinding speed, their weapons unleashed, striking with precision. Enemy ships broke apart, some crippled, some retreating into the darkness. The rival commander roared with fury, but fear had already taken root among his ranks. The battle raged, but the tide had turned. The storm began to break. Daniel's eyes burned with tears as he realized what was happening. His voice grew stronger, his heart steady. We do not fight for power. We fight to protect. Remember that. The last of the enemy fleet faltered, broken by unity, by strength, by mercy. They turned and fled into the void, leaving silence in their wake. Cheers erupted across the command chamber. Soldiers shouted, commanders saluted. The keepers bowed their heads, and the elder placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. You chose well, the elder said softly. Not with fear, not with rage, but with balance. That is why the seal burns brighter for you. Daniel lowered the seal slowly, its light dimming but steady. He breathed deeply, exhaustion washing over him. Yet in his chest burned something stronger than fear, a flame he had never known. The crowd in the station below would speak of this day forever. The day a human stood against the storm. He turned to the elder, his voice quiet. I am no king, no emperor. The elder nodded. No, you are more. You are proof that kindness can still guide destiny. That is what the galaxy needs. Daniel looked at the fleet, at the soldiers, at the people who now saw him not as a stranger, but as something greater. His lips trembled as he whispered to himself, all this because I bought a ticket. The elder's faint smile widened. Sometimes the smallest acts open the greatest doors, and you, human, have stepped through one the galaxy will never forget. The storm had passed, but the journey was only beginning. Daniel now stood not as a wanderer, not as a bystander, but as the bearer of the seal, the one who had made the choice, the human who changed the galaxy with mercy, with courage, and with destiny.